My name is Gabe Ruiz, and today we will be presenting on how water pollution affects the tap water in the greater Lafayette area. Water pollution is a problem affecting all of us. According to WBAA.org, Indiana dumps more pollutants into its water than any other state. In order to effectively talk about water pollution, we need to define the problem and root causes, as well as talk about the impacts of water pollution on the greater Lafayette area, how the water pollution problem is being addressed now, and finally, lay out some potential solutions that will help out the greater Lafayette area. According to NRDC.org, water pollution is defined as the process when harmful substances such as chemicals or microorganisms contaminate any body of water, such as an ocean or lake, making the quality of water there low enough that it becomes harmful for the environment. Water pollution in different bodies of water have many different potential origins. According to Panda.org, one of the most significant ways large bodies of waters can become contaminated is through city sewage and industrial waste discharge. This can happen when sewage pipes are drained out into our oceans, lakes, and rivers, releasing chemicals that can negatively harm ecosystems residing in these bodies of water. Oftentimes, we also will see bodies of water become contaminated when a body of water they are connected to becomes contaminated as well, instead of from direct contamination from something like a sewage pipe. For example, according to Michigan.org, the Great Lakes are the largest freshwater system in the world, and all are connected to each other either directly or by a variety of different lakes and rivers. This means that water pollution beginning in one of the lakes has the potential to affect the water of the surrounding lakes and other bodies of water connected to the lakes. Water pollution is something that affects all life on Earth, as all life requires water to exist, according to NASA.gov. That being said, water pollution affects life differently depending on what type of pollution and where this pollution is occurring. In our oceans, we often see very high quantities of plastics accumulate in large plastic patches throughout the world. The largest of these patches is known as the Great Pacific Garbage Patch, which according to theoceancleanup.com, covers a surface area of around 1.6 million square kilometers, equivalent to an area twice the size of Texas or 3 times the size of France. Patches like these are very harmful to ocean environments, as marine animals can often mistake bits of plastic as food, which can lead to many serious health problems. Humans are more likely to be directly affected by freshwater pollution, as we rely on fresh water instead of salt water for drinking water. Pollution in areas such as the Great Lakes, or for us locally, the Wabash River, can cause many negative effects for our tap water and need to be addressed in order to ensure that the quality of our drinking water remains high enough that it is safe for human consumption. According to environmentalchange.nd.edu, contamination in the Wabash River specifically originates from a few things. Grand Lake St. Mary's, which is near the source of the Little River, which leads directly to the Wabash River, is the home of many toxic algae blooms. The Little River carries this algae into the Wabash River, which then takes advantage of the excess of many nutrients and chemicals from farm fields surrounding the Wabash that fill the river, giving the algae the tools to thrive and further contaminate the river. Not only do these nutrients allow for the harmful algae to remain in the river, but they also lower the quality of water for both human consumption and for marine animals alike.
The contaminants in the Wabash River go into the Mississippi River, which goes into the Gulf of Mexico. Currently, because of pollution and an excess of fertilizers in the river, there's a massive algae bloom in the Gulf of Mexico. Algae is detrimental to the health of the environment because it takes oxygen from the water and kills many of the fish in the ocean. The river is a representation of what is going into the aquifer. The aquifer is the water that we actually drink. But as contaminants go onto the soil, they slowly leach down underground, which eventually affects the water that we drink. Wabash's river has a high level of contaminants, which indicates that there are a high number of contaminants on the ground, which will eventually leach down to the aquifer. Thus, this is a problem that needs to be addressed.
There are a number of organizations currently working to keep the Wabash clean. This includes government-run programs like the yearly Detrash the Wabash. This is an event hosted by the Indiana state government where volunteers from Lafayette, Purdue, and surrounding areas pull pollutants out of the river. These include things like tires, fencing, and plastic. And notably last year they removed over 2 tons. There are also a number of smaller individuals and organizations that help clean up the river, but they never tend to do as much work as the government does. Currently, the standard for drinking water in the U.S. are laid out in the 1974 Safe Drinking Water Act and its subsequent amendments. This act authorizes the EPA to determine what standard of drinking water is safe, and create regulations so that people can meet these standards. Currently, these standards are being met in Indiana, but compared to other states with a similar ecosystem, such as North Carolina, we are just barely maintaining a safe level of contaminants. Notably, Indiana's water supply has a very large degree of chlorine, and while it is still what is defined as safe levels, it is by no means healthy. Currently, Section 404 of the Clean Water Act prohibits contaminants like discharge from mines being dumped in rivers unless very specific conditions are met. Unfortunately, this law is difficult to enforce, and people still dump massive amounts of garbage into bodies of water. Indiana actually protects bodies of water more than land by law. One bill states that littering within 100 feet of a body of water is punishable by a fine of up to $1,000, which is significantly more when it's compared to the regular littering fee. With a database like the National Congress of State Legislature, it's easy to see that this is actually considered around average for this type of infraction in the country. Other states have very similar laws preventing people from dumping in rivers and lakes specifically.
According to EPA.gov, Indiana's water supply has a very large degree of chlorine, and while it is still at what is defined as safe levels, it is by no means healthy. This is an indication to us all that something must be done. You're probably wondering, what can I do in the meantime? There are multiple ways that you can guarantee the safety of your water at home. These ways include boiling your water. This is a reliable way to purify water. You can also use iodine solution, tablets, or crystals. You can use chlorine drops, or even just use a water filter that you can buy at any local store. We also want to encourage everyone to get in touch and reach out with your local elected officials and demand that more be done regarding the rules and regulations of water pollution in our area. Our governor is Eric J. Holcomb, and our mayor of West Lafayette is John R. Dennis. We can demand that there be better water regulation and rules in our area.